a comeback. Welcome back to the Dialed In podcast. I'm Mo, and as always, I'm here with my horological partner in crime, Gene. Gene, what's up, man?
Welcome back. It's good to be back.
It's good to be back. Nice summer break.
Absolutely. Ton of travel. Lots of exciting things to talk about today.
I love it. I love it. Before we jump into the episode, what do you have on your wrist today?
Ooh, a good one, and maybe something that kind of foreshadows things to be discussed. But today I'm wearing a new acquisition, a Cartier Tank Solo with a very special piano dial.
Dude, I love it. So we went out for lunch during our summer hiatus of the pod and grabbed some sushi together. I think that's the first time I've seen a piano dial Cartier in person. Holy shit, that is a beautiful watch.
I love it.
And I also weirdly, I don't know, sometimes watches on people's wrists, make you feel like they were born with that watch on. For some reason, that watch suits you. I've never seen a watch suit you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's
I
wild.
mean, fun fact, I did take piano lessons for probably 11 years of my life. So piano is something near and dear to my heart, and why not wear it on the wrist?
Dude, love it.
What about you? What do you got on?
I also have a new acquisition on, and tease for the later in the episode. We are going to talk through our watch addiction and how many purchases we've made since we've been on the pod. But I'm wearing a 2005 Rolex Datejust in yellow gold with a very special onyx dial. It's very cool. I'll get into it more later in the pod, but I'm loving this watch. Yeah, little bling.
Little bling.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it.
Okay, so today's episode, we're going to talk about what's been going on since we last released a podcast. Some, as you mentioned, some travel, some funny stories, and most importantly, how we'll start the episode is some new acquisitions we've made. Maybe a few too many, if someone's judging. And as always, there's no barrier to entry here on the Dialed In pod. So with that, Gene, let's get dialed in. Before we took our summer break, you and I both mentioned, I think very briefly on a pod, that we wanted to get the same watch, actually. And it was the Tag Heuer Formula One Solargraph, the new release one, limited edition, green bezel, that I believe, as you brought up just before we hopped on, was released in connection with the British GP Silverstone. Spoiler alert, we both bought the watch.
We followed our own advice.
We did. And in fact, I will say that I was given the watch, which was awesome, by someone very special who listens to the pod. And, on July 1st or whenever it was released, she was first in line to get it, and a reminder set on her phone. So even more special. But I love that we got the same watch. What's your experience been with it?
I think it's fantastic. It's the green just really pops. It's something a bit more colorful, I think. Some of the watches that we've talked about to date in our prior episodes have always been probably a bit more serious. I think this is definitely trending more towards the playful side of things. And so, like I said, pop of color, F1 is something that, both of us have a great deal of interest in. And so from that perspective, just, a fun collectible. And in this case, I'm aware, at least online, I'm not sure if they're still available in the boutiques, but I believe it's sold out online. So great. I love it. I love wearing it, and I think it's just a fun little piece to have a conversation about.
I love that it's sized up to 38 from the old, I think 34 is what it used to be. I actually bought the release last year, the Kith collab, which came out in the 34 millimeters. I literally never wear that watch. It's cool. It's really
because
really
it's too
cool.
Small?
So small. It's so small, and it's not like it's a vintage dress watch. I feel like I don't mind wearing a 34 millimeter dress watch that has a time and place for me. 38 millimeter, with a big bezel, right? So it makes the dial even that much smaller.
It does.
So it was just not the right size for me. But this I love wearing, and I was just telling you before we hopped on that I kind of wear it like I would wear a G-Shock. Funnily enough, I'm one of those people who can't not have a watch on my wrist. So even if I'm sitting at home just on the couch at night, in my pajamas, I need a watch on my wrist.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I won't go to bed with it, but if I'm up and I'm walking around, I need a watch on my wrist. And so that tends to be the watch I reach for at home. And certainly, just bumming around on a Sunday, walking around the city, it's such a fun watch.
Totally. So question for you. You raise an interesting idea When it comes to reissues, there's obviously the trend of making a reissue that is as close as possible to the original, inclusive of size. So you mentioned the Kith collab. And there's sort of the idea of modernizing it as Tag has done with the new version, with a more modern and accessible size in terms of just the way that people are trending now. What's your view on keeping it OG versus sizing it up or making changes that are more modern?
It's an awesome question. I think it totally depends on the watch, and that's a it's not a great answer. So I'll expand a little. Like I think AP, and I'm now not prepared for this conversation, so I'm forgetting the release. But that kind of angular watch that they re-released.
Oh yeah,
recently?
yeah. I do know what you're talking about. I don't know what it's called either.
Yeah,
but,
it's escaping me. But that was, I think the original size was much smaller, and I think the angular shape is cool. I think the timing was right to re-release that with everyone sort of buying into 70s style watches. So I think they were right on the money with that, but they like sized it up to something like crazy, like 45 millimeters or something nuts. And it takes up like the entire wrist. And to me, that was a very bad idea. If that was their idea of modernizing the watch, it was a fail. And I think it's called the Remaster 02.
That's right. Yeah.
Are you on an article there?
I am actually.
Can you see the size? If it's too hard to find, don't stress. But I do know that it was quite large.
Right.
And maybe it's even hard to tell like how they measure
how
it.
they would even size it for that matter. Yeah, absolutely true. Okay.
What do you think? Do you think brands should keep it OG, or also for you does it depend on the watch?
I think it depends on the watch. Like I'm absolutely a fan of what Tag did with the new version of the F1. They updated it to a solograph in addition to the 38 millimeter size, which I think makes a ton of sense. At 34, it would have felt really small on my wrist in particular. I have a 7-inch wrist, which is not extraordinarily large, and it's not small either. It would have just been tiny. It wouldn't had enough presence, I think, at 34. So at 38, it feels right. I love wearing it, and to your point, it's just the perfect watch to just throw on and take a walk outside and do the things you need to do.
Totally. All right, man. Tell me about this piano dial.
Yeah.
I want to know about how long you've been wanting it. What drove you to even sort of like start researching it, and then how'd you get it? Where'd you buy it? All the things.
Yeah. I mean, it's been something that has been in the back of my mind for quite some time. I just think, first of all, the Cartier Tank is a well-known watch and it has a ton of history and that sort of thing. I think what makes this watch interesting is the dial and the way that it works. And I'm going to try to draw this picture with words, but it's sort of it's not concentric circles, but it's definitely the layout of the dial is odd, but it still works to tell the time in sort of at 2, 3, 4 o'clock, and I think back around again at 8, 9, 10. So it's just something that I've had a great deal of interest in because it was so unusual, and I think just the visual of it is unique. It came out in 2001. I think there was a reissue in 2011. And finding the right size and finding a good example was always a bit of a challenge. So I tried to stay patient, keep my eye on all the apps like Pushers and Chrono 24 and that kind of thing. And I ended up finding a really good example actually on eBay that was dramatically underpriced for its size. And that actually scared me a bit because the larger size is generally going, right now at least, for somewhere around 9 or 10K. And this was priced approximately, maybe 45% lower than that.
Whoa.
And
there's a smaller size that typically is priced at that level.
Yes,
is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And so I went back and forth with the seller. We exchanged a few messages and come to find out the original owner. And it didn't appear that this was like a watch collector of any kind. So, feeling relatively confident about its authenticity, I decided to pull the trigger on it. We had negotiated a new price that I thought was, pretty reasonable under the circumstances. So
wait, so you're saying below
below the ask. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Not
nice.
dramatically below, but below the ask. And then eBay has its authenticity guarantee. And so it goes through, I think, a third party. The seller ships to that authenticity sort of guarantor. They review the watch. It happens extraordinarily quickly, so I don't know exactly how in-depth that examination is. But I got the watch with that authenticity guarantee. I did take it to Cartier for a once-over. They said it looked pretty good. I will ultimately take it in for a service once the battery needs changing.
Oh, it's quartz.
Yes,
It's
quartz.
a tank solo.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's quartz. And so we'll actually see then, but I feel confident enough at the moment to believe that it's real. I've gotten kind of the sign off from the right places. And so, yeah, I'm extraordinarily happy with the purchase. I've been wearing it constantly. If I have any grievance with it, it's that the deployant clasp is a little wonky. It's the older version of kind of, they have a different version now, which I think makes far more sense, but, it's fantastic.
It's beautiful. I've never. That's not true. I've actually, funnily enough, bought a Cartier on eBay, but I was scared the whole time.
Yeah.
For some reason, something about eBay, even though I guess it's very similar to the business model of Chrono 24.
Yeah.
Something about eBay scares me.
Oh, listen, I've purchased a few things on eBay, just a few random things. Every time I go through eBay, I'm just always a little fearful of what I'm getting. I get it.
What do you think your price cap on eBay is? Like, would you not purchase something over $20,000, over $10,000, over $15,000? Like, is it a price thing for you?
I was looking at another watch the other day that I found on eBay, and an unworn example of something else that I've been looking at. And in this case, the watch is over $20K. I'm very afraid. Afraid. There was something about, being in the 5-6K range that felt like a little bit more comfortable for me. I realize that is still a lot of money, but it just felt like a risk that I could take. But yeah, there is probably a threshold. I don't know exactly where that is, but definitely over 20. I'm starting to get really concerned.
Yeah, me too. And I think that's a fair statement to make, though, that it has to do with price, because first of all, $4,000 to $5,000, $6,000, whatever it is a lot of money, just generally speaking, but not a lot of money in the watch world.
Right.
And there's less incentive to screw around with a
Right.
5 to 6K.
That's
Once you
absolutely
start
right.
going into $25,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, like, okay, there's a lot of margin to be made, right?
Yeah.
The reason you're paying that price could be because of a certain type of dial, that they
Right.
could have just could not be authentic. And so many things can go wrong.
It's actually a really good point. There's far more incentive to counterfeit
yes.
at a higher price point than there is at a lower one. Yeah. That's exactly right.
Cool, man. Well, I'm happy it all worked out.
Yeah, thanks.
And like I said, that watch was made for you.
Tell me about you, though.
Okay, so where do I start? Let's start with the one on my wrist. So it was my birthday, August 3rd. Thanks to all the listeners that wished me. And for that, I mean 0 if you did. Gene, you wished me though, so thank you. I like giving a, from me to me gift to myself every birthday. And I had been wanting an all yellow gold watch for a while. And, something about the Day-Date is great. I've owned a Day-Date before. I've owned like a vintage one, actually 1979 Spanish day wheel. It was a cool watch, but something about it didn't do it for me. And I love your modern Day-Date. So that's kind of where I was going. I was thinking like, maybe I ditch the yellow gold idea and go rose gold and get the same exact watch you have. But then, these onyx dials started popping up kind of everywhere for me, whether it be Instagram or a YouTube video I was watching. And I just love how clean black onyx.
It's sharp.
Yeah. And against a yellow gold too. It's just very cool. I like that they don't make full precious metal Datejusts anymore. And interestingly enough, so I bought this watch, and to describe it a little bit, it's a 36 millimeter Datejust. It's an onyx dial. It has 2 Arabic numerals on it, the 9 and the 6. And in the 9 and the 6, there is 2 small diamonds in each, which a little blingy to your point, but it's very understated.
Yeah.
Like you'd have to really look at the dial to see that there are diamonds on it. Much like your baguettes, I would say on your date. So I found the perfect version on gray and patina, which interestingly enough, you introduced me to many years ago.
Yeah.
And I had never purchased a watch from them, but constantly look at their site. Their photography is stunning, and the way they present the watches is great, and they give you a lot of information, and they're super nice if you WhatsApp like the general number. They're super helpful. There was two versions of the same watch. So there was one from 1980 and there was one from 2005. Now, I love the idea of vintage watches, and we're actually going to do a whole episode on vintage watches soon, but with yellow gold, I like the weight of it too. And I think in the 80s, it would have been like hollow center links,
That's right.
And so you really get more bang for your buck, if you will, of a more modern one. And they were priced the exact same. So I went with the 2005 one. Also, I like the engraved rehaut with Rolex around it. Again, in yellow gold, it looks very, very cool. And I was sitting on it for a while, like the decision to make this purchase. And I reached out to them finally after about 2 weeks of seeing it on their site and looking at it every day and wondering what my ask was going to be, like, because I was going to come in below ask. And I reached out and he goes, "Oh man, it just sold." I was like, "No."
Gut punch.
I was like, "Wait, just to clarify, the 2005 one just sold?" And he said, "Yes, that just sold. Like, there's a 1980 one if you want to take a look at that." And I was like, "No, I really wanted the 2005." And I was very dejected. And then I went to bed that night and I woke up and all I could think about was the watch. So at least to me, that was validation that, okay, this wasn't going to be an impulse buy. This is something I really thought of and I really want this watch. And so I reached out, sort of last ditch effort, to say like, "Hey man, like if the sale falls through, if the guy doesn't wire or whatever it is, like I'm your guy and I'll give you full ask. I'm not going to play around." And he goes, "Okay. But we'll look out for them. Like the Onyx dials in this condition, it's hard to come by, but we do get them. So like, I'll keep you on file." Oh, it was nice enough. And I started like pinging like Eric Wind and a bunch of other people to be like, "Can you find this watch for me?" About 2 hours later, he reaches out. He goes, "Done deal. I got you the watch." And I said, "Wait, how?" And he goes, "I actually convinced the other guy to buy the 1980.
Hey.
And I was like, "Damn, that's a good day for you,
Yeah.
Gray and Patina."
Exactly.
So I got the watch, and dude, I love it. It's definitely not like an everyday. You can't just like roll around with yellow, gold, and diamonds on your wrist. But it is a very special watch.
Yeah.
I do believe it's going to be in my collection permanently,
Yeah.
and I love it.
Well, if anyone knows you, that is a perfect watch for you.
You think?
I think so. I mean, look, there's the fact that it's an Onyx dial. Again, most of the people that listen to this podcast have no idea what you look like day to day, but you do wear a lot of black.
Tons. I'm in all black right now.
Exactly. So from that perspective, I think it just goes. And then I think about the idea of, for some reason, I have this vision of you wearing like a tux or something like that. And it would it's so sharp. It's so sharp.
Damn, man,
it's
thanks.
really a beautiful watch.
Thank you. I love it. I got a couple more watches, so I'm gonna kind of breeze through them a little bit.
Let's go.
I got the Dennison and Collectability collab watch. So for those listeners that don't know, definitely go check out Dennison watches. They're all sub $1,000. They are very known for stone dials. They have malachite. They have, I believe they have lapis. They have a bunch of stuff, even like wood dials, like super, super cool. And, I've always been interested in them, and I think they sell out pretty quickly when they do release a new stone dial. They all say Dennison in white letters on the stone dials, which I don't know. It's something about that never really hit for me. So that's kind of what prevented me from buying one of these things. And then John Reardon, who had worked for Patek Philippe for many, many years, now has a company called Collectability. If you guys haven't checked out Collectability content, it is unbelievable. John Reardon is like the expert on Patek Philippe. Can be a little dry, I'll be honest, but super, super, super like deep knowledge of Patek. He wanted to create like an affordable ellipse style watch, which Dennison, creates. And I believe actually the guy who designed the Royal Oak Offshore is actually the designer of the Dennison watch, which is wild.
Okay.
And very different aesthetics between the two watches. They released one in steel and one in like PVD gold. I don't love the idea of PVD gold. So I bought the steel one with this Sunray blue dial.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I'll throw all of these on the gram and link to them in the show notes. But
Got a great alligator strap too.
yeah, dude, I loved the presentation, and it's very cool. I haven't worn it that much. I wore it one day. Mind you, I've only had it for a couple of weeks. But yeah, super excited with it. And I love seeing like these micro brands and independent brands doing cool stuff like this. So Dennison's definitely one to watch. What I will say, and take it back a second to the Tag Heuer Formula One, we didn't talk about the box.
Oh, the box is ridiculous.
Wild, dude.
It is extraordinarily large for no good reason.
It's crazy.
It's massive.
I mean, it's nice that it came with like a travel case, but dude, okay, how do I describe it? It was bigger than a box of Nike shoes. Like it was massive.
Let's just say by comparison, right? I think I'm seeing your Patek box.
Yeah.
It's probably a little less than twice that size.
Yes.
And there's just not enough stuff in that box to justify its size. It came with a little travel case. There's a box. There's some manuals. And I don't know. It's stunningly large.
Did you keep yours?
I have it, but I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, man, me neither.
I'm just like, I don't want to throw it away because that's, kind of a sin now in modern watch collecting, but it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't fit anywhere. It's kind of annoying.
It's the most annoying. And I don't know why no one else has mentioned this. Like, because I've watched a lot of YouTube videos about like people buying this watch and no one's mentioned the box, and it's absolutely insane to me. Anyway, I had to just comment on that. Because you actually texted me when you got here, like, dude, this box. Okay. And the last watch that I purchased since we've all last spoken is a cool 1979 Datejust. Again, weird that I bought two Datejusts after never having owned a Datejust. 1979 two-tone Datejust, 16013 is the reference. And it's this really cool royal blue dial. I'll link to it again. It's on the gram. But what really sold me on it was twofold. It had an engraving on the back that said "Go for it" in just capital letters. I don't know why, but that engraving just like spoke to me. I immediately started to think of like someone's wife giving it to them to like and giving them confidence to just like they were like debating a big decision. And it was just like, screw it, man, go for it. Right. And it's a constant reminder to just go for it. Also a nice little reminder to just go buy the watch. Just go for it. Just buy it.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was basically telling me to buy it. And two, and this is kind of shifting into the next part of our episode, just like some stories here of our trips. I went to Montreal for July 4th weekend. And Montreal's a cool little city. It's super close to New York. It's like 40 minutes by air. I love it. And people speak French there. And, it's like Europe in our backyard. I was desperately seeking like Montreal watch culture. And I wanted to go to a couple of vintage watch stores. Surprisingly, like everything came up empty except for one constant in any sort of like Reddit thread or Yelp review was that this company, Time Merchants, was amazing. And so I went, and I actually went not knowing the hours of the store. And I got there like half an hour before it closed. The guy who owns it, a guy named Chris, the nicest guy ever. You know how like people sometimes they don't know, proprietors of stores don't know if you're gonna in there to actually buy, or just like try on every watch and walk out. I don't think he cared. He just wanted to sit and talk watches. And so we had an hour and a half conversation, meaning he kept the store open an hour longer than it was supposed to be. Like we talked about family life, we talked about music. He has a big whiskey collection there. It was like a very cool story. A lot of like old vintage like watch memorabilia too. Great selection of watches. And he just like worked with me on price and was like, oh yeah, I know, I'll save you the taxes here. I'll ship it. Like, and it basically was just really, really accommodating. So I ended up buying this watch for a great price, and he actually has YouTube videos too. He's got a YouTube channel. So I'll plug him, Time Merchants on YouTube. Go check him out. And if you're ever in Montreal, do not miss this store. Go there and chat with this dude. Anyway, so those are the 4 watches that I got. And in Montreal, I will say there's one other story from that trip. So I went to a restaurant called Milos, which you may be familiar with, the one in New York.
Yeah.
It's very not what normal Montreal is. So what I mean by that, it's a very like New York City restaurant, or I would even go like Beverly Hills restaurant.
Yeah.
Everyone in there is a lot of Botox, lot of plastic in there, a lot of great watches.
Okay.
Great watches on every wrist. I sat down next to a table of 2 couples. The guy next to me was wearing a 5712. And I struck up a conversation, obviously, because you don't see many of those out in the wild.
You don't. You actually don't. Yeah.
And
that's kind of a grail for you too. Yeah.
That not kind of. It certainly is,
Okay.
Gene. Yeah. And this guy was hilarious. He was so nice. He was quite young. Definitely sort of family money, family owned business, and he was in Montreal for the night, and he lives close by.
Did he let you try it on?
No, he took it off his wrist though. I didn't put it on mine. I just held it.
Did you put your thumb on the crystal?
I did not.
Okay, sorry.
No.
That's a throwback or a callback to a prior episode.
Yes. I did ask him. I asked someone like that about their collection, right? Because as John Mayer said, like if someone's wearing like an Aquanaut, they have nicer watches.
Yeah, he's got some other.
No one just
nice
owns a
pieces.
5712.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
And he started listing off literally every watch you could imagine, and I believe it too. Like he wasn't bragging.
Right.
He was just kind of like. And he also, I was wearing a Reverso that night.
Yeah.
And he called it an Inverso. I didn't even correct him. I kind of just chuckled. It was funny.
Okay.
But he's like, he does custom watches with some brands. He was telling me through his, he's in YPO. I don't know if you know that, like international organization. It's like Young Presidents Organization.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, one funny moment from that was that he kept calling watches that he owned his grails. Like he'd be like, oh yeah, like the 5720 Patek, perpetual calendar chronograph. Oh, that's my grail. Yeah, I bought it like a month ago. I'm just like, damn, what? Sorry, 5270. Who says that?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have a collection of all grails. That's my life aspiration. But okay,
I kept chuckling at that idea of just like owning all your grail. Like, are they grails at that point?
Yeah, probably not. Probably not.
But he was a super nice guy, and he said if I'm back in Montreal, that to call him. So
okay,
maybe we'll go and hit him up and see this massive collection of grails.
You can wear your Inverso again.
Inverso, yeah. Okay, I wanted to talk about Breitling. Okay, so we talked about summer watches on our last episode. I did the thing that a lot of watch content creators do, talk about things they haven't felt in person, and I felt weird about that. I've talked about the Heritage Super Ocean in 36 millimeters. I brought up that one for the people with the small wrists out there. And so I was like, you know what? I got to go check this out. And also, I live right near a very cool Breitling store in meatpacking that I haven't ever been to. Have you?
I haven't actually.
Yeah. And we go.
Where is it exactly?
It's 14th and Washington. Is that the street? It's basically just before 9th Ave.
Okay.
So right by our Rolex AD.
Yeah.
And I walked into this Breitling store and met the sales associate, Ray, who used to work actually at the Watches of Switzerland in Hudson Yards. Dude couldn't have been nicer. Like the nicest sales associate, hands down, I've ever dealt with in any type of boutique.
All right. Employee of the month, Ray.
Bro, for real. Like big shout out to Ray. He brought out every watch Breitling has to offer. And he was super honest. Right. He was like, yeah, I don't really like these. These are not my taste. But like, if you look at these new Heritage Super Oceans, like, don't go for the 36. Like, I'll bring them out for you to try them on, but they're tiny, right? Again, this is a whole like big bezel kind of thing, and so the dial is actually very small. So I kind of retract my my pitch to those men with small wrists. They're definitely geared towards ladies,
right?
And they look very good on ladies' wrists, to be fair. But I did try on the new Heritage Super Ocean 40 millimeter. which was dope. And I
Mhm.
actually can't get it out of my mind.
Uh-oh.
And it was
What are you doing after this?
Yeah, I tried on the all green one, and it's a green rubber strap. The rubber was super, super nice. Ceramic bezel, basically all the specs of a sub, and just like not the watch that literally everyone on the street is
Mhm.
wearing. And so I actually may go and get that watch. It's
Okay.
super cool. He wasn't pushy at all. And he goes, if you're ever just like walking by, you live in the neighborhood, just come by and we'll, just have a beer, come sit and
Hey.
talk watches.
All right.
He also brought out, because obviously we were talking, he found out I'm a watch guy, whatever. He brought out something from his personal collection, which he had with him, which was a malachite day-date.
Hmm.
It was sick.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really, really sick.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you live in New York, first pitch is go to Breitling, go find Ray. This man is awesome, super
Yeah.
knowledgeable. Second pitch to just everyone out there, no matter where you live, go to a Breitling.
Yeah.
What they're doing with their watches, I think we all think of like the big, bulky, busy dial Navitimers and things like that. And that's cool. People love them and that's
Absolutely.
great, but a lot of people don't like them.
Yeah. Ton of history on that watch too.
And I feel like that's what you just associate
Yeah.
with Breitling. Go give them a shot. Go try on some watches. The Super Ocean Heritage, they have it in like, I don't know, 6 different sizes. The 40 millimeter was amazing on my wrist. Could not suggest that more. So do that and tell us what you think.
Yeah.
Why I bring this story up though,
Mhm.
because I wanted to just like talk about how different that experience was from walking into a Rolex, a Patek AD, or like a AP house.
Right.
Where it's like they're doing you a favor by talking to you. That's kind of the vibe you get. And it made me think of like brands like Breitling, like this is how you compete.
course.
It's through service. Because like they actually have to do a difficult job, which is sell a watch that someone maybe didn't walk in there thinking they'd buy.
Mhm.
Whereas like with Rolex, like, everyone that's walking in there wants to buy anything that they're offered.
Right.
Right.
Well, you don't have to try if
Yeah.
you work at Rolex.
Right. So like, what's your experience been in boutiques, and like, have you been to like any boutique that's not a Rolex, AP, Patek recently?
Recently, probably not. Just because I've, and this probably is a bit of a preview on what we're going to talk about in the next episode, which is I've been focused a bit more on vintage and neo vintage lately. But yeah, I completely agree with you. I'll say 2 things about, Breitling. Number one, good on Ray for having an opinion, right?
Hell yeah.
I'm really tired of going somewhere, anywhere, and this is true of anything from restaurants to watches, where you're kind of like, "What's great on the menu?" And they'll tell you like, "Oh, everything's good." Well, that's not true. Like, you must have favorites, and I appreciate people that have opinions and can sort of share that with you. And secondarily, I will say this about Breitling too, which is again a bit of a preview for what we're going to discuss later, but. Breitling's made a couple of acquisitions this year, Universal Genève and Gallet, 2 heritage brands that have a ton of history.
Totally.
That presumably they plan on bringing back in some way. I'm really excited to see what Breitling does for its own brand and those other 2 brands as well, as they kind of fill out the portfolio. So shout out to Breitling.
For real.
Yeah,
like
bright future.
Like a real shout out to Breitling. And not enough people are talking about what they're doing, and giving them enough credit for constantly iterating on historic pieces that maybe aren't sort of like, don't have the mass appeal right now. But yeah, they're doing really cool stuff. I had a ton more stuff to talk about, but I think this is a great place to end.
Okay.
Unless you have anything you want to throw in.
No.
I know we were going to talk about some tariffs, but like I feel like people are tired of hearing about tariffs.
Oh, I have thoughts.
Yeah, 39%. Like, get out of here. What is that? Actually, screw it. We'll do one bit on tariffs.
Yeah.
Not what everyone else is talking about. What I want to know and I know, listen, we have no data here.
Yeah.
This is just purely like our speculation. Okay, I'm going to give you one historical stat that, in the 1970s, when you look at like an all gold Daytona, like a 6265 yellow gold, the ones made for the US at the time were made in 14 karat gold.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason Rolex did that was because of import prices on gold. And so that's interesting that like they changed the metal they use for one market because of effectively a tariff, right? If these 39% tariffs stay, and if they're, as tariffs evolve, typically there are some exclusions because like lobbying groups get involved and whatever. Like, do you think there will be like a sort of new metals that are used or new manufacturing processes as loopholes? Like, how do you see this impacting that, and then also impacting primary and secondary market stuff?
Yeah, I'm hard pressed to think that a company like Rolex would ever do something like that again, right? Like create like a secondary metal for the U.S. market that is of lower quality than what they're making for rest of world. So I'm going to say no. Obviously, I could be wrong. I know nothing, but that's just my gut. That said, with what are inevitably going to be price changes if the 39% tariff holds with Swiss imports. I'm going to imagine that prices will increase on the primary market, right? You can't absorb 40%.
No.
And Rolex has shown the ability over the years to increase by 5% and up beyond that, regardless of tariffs. And that's going to cause, I think, a knock-on effect to the secondary market. People are going to make their way to kind of secondary dealers. I can only imagine that inventory and just interest in the secondary markets is going to increase, which will have an effect on price as well. I think that will take time.
Yes.
I don't think that that's going to happen immediately. But I'm again, if the tariff holds, I'm going to imagine that both the primary and secondary market are going to go up in price.
I totally agree with everything you just said. I think that like the secondary market, like to your point, is going to take some time to show the impact. I'm sure there's a ton of inventory in the U.S. right now.
Right.
But the interesting thing about these tariffs is like people kind of get it wrong. Like it's not just things that come from Switzerland; it's Swiss-made goods. So they could come from Japan and still be subject to this 39% tariff. And that's what's crazy. And that's why when you think about the secondary dealers who need to literally just get inventory from around the world. And listen, there's a ton of inventory in the U.S., so it's not going to get saturated by tomorrow. But over time, if these tariffs hold, all prices will rise because of that. Because we're going to need to import, goods from anywhere in the world, and these are all Swiss goods.
Right.
I'm curious to see if people start buying more Grand Seikos because of that, or German watches like Glashütte Original, which we've never actually spoken about on the pod.
We haven't, but. Great watch.
Yeah. So, Longa, obviously.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, this was awesome. I'm so happy to be back. I hope the listeners are happy. I hope you guys have been enjoying your summers and ready to hear us ramble every week as we usually do. And as always, check us out on Insta and TikTok at the Dialed In Pod. Feel free to reach out to us, with thoughts, comments, what you want to hear on these episodes. We're always open to input. And with that, we'll catch you next time on the Dialed In Pod.